Welcome back, everybody. Ready for another deep dive?
Absolutely.
Today we're looking at Landman, Episode 9.
Ooh, this one's a roller coaster.
No kidding. Family drama, tough business calls, Texas oil, and a whole lot of characters trying to figure out where to draw the line.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in this one.
We've got a nursing home field trip to a strip club, a guy who only eats cereal if there are cartoon characters on the box, and a paella dinner that goes completely haywire.
And under all that, this episode is really asking some deep questions, like what kind of legacy do we want to leave behind?
Right. How do our ambitions line up with what really matters?
And how the heck do we balance work and life when things get crazy?
Speaking of crazy, let's start with Tommy. He's recovering from that heart attack, and his business partner, Jerry, drops by. Jerry's got some thoughts about legacy and purpose. He tells Tommy about how buying the Dallas Cowboys actually brought him closer to his kids.
I love that story. Who knew that owning a football team could be a path to family bonding? But it speaks to how unexpected things can bring us closer to the people we love.
It does make you stop and think about what really matters, you know.
Absolutely. What do we really want to be remembered for? It might not be the things we always assume. While Tommy's dealing with all that, his dad, Monty's busy shaking things up at the company.
Yeah, he points Rebecca as the new VP of Exploration, and everyone's kind of like, wait, what?
Right. Monty's always been a guy who makes rational decisions, so this move's got people wondering what his game is.
Is he setting Rebecca up for something bigger?
Or is there some other strategy at play here? Don't forget, the oil industry is all about power moves, and remember, there's always risk in this business.
Tommy and Nate are definitely concerned about Rebecca's qualifications. She's a lawyer, not a geologist.
It makes you wonder if Monty's putting the company in jeopardy, especially with all the uncertainty in the oil and gas markets. You've got that classic tension between experience and taking a chance on something new.
Okay, now for a storyline that's a little lighter.
You mean Angela's plan to take the nursing home residents to a strip club?
The one and only. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that one. What do you think the writers are going for here?
On the surface, it's just hilarious, but it tells us a lot about Angela, too.
She's definitely resourceful and super compassionate towards those residents.
Exactly. She's willing to bend the rules a bit to bring them some joy. It's a nice change of pace from all the cutthroat oil business stuff.
Speaking of pushing boundaries, we've also got Ainsley and the quarterback using Bible study as a cover for sneaking around.
Classic teenage rebellion, right?
And that confrontation between Ainsley and her dad was just awkward.
I bet. But it's something a lot of families can relate to. Parents trying to set boundaries, teenagers fighting for independence. It's a universal struggle.
Okay, back to the oil fields. We see Cooper working hard to lock down those leases. His meeting with Mr. Hardin was really interesting.
Those two come from completely different worlds, but Cooper manages to build trust with him.
He was patient, took time to explain things. Really different from the usual aggressive landman tactics.
It shows that Cooper's got integrity. Plus, that scene highlights the whole idea of mineral rights.
Yeah, those rights are essential to understanding the oil business. It's like owning a piece of the potential oil underground.
And they can be incredibly valuable, which is why Cooper's deals are so important.
He ends up striking a deal with Mr. Hardin, showing his dedication to building a future for himself in the oil world.
It's exciting to see a young guy like Cooper trying to make his mark. And now we're back at Tommy's house for the main event, Angela's paella dinner.
Paella in Texas.
It's a recipe for disaster, right?
Yeah.
You've got this clash of cultures, plus all the tension between Tommy and Angela. They're both dealing with stress in their own ways, and it's all about to boil over.
And it literally does boil over when Tommy insists on eating at the table instead of standing up.
You could feel the tension through the screen.
It's like that paella became a symbol of their communication breakdown.
Tommy just wants simplicity and comfort, while Angela's trying to show her love through this elaborate meal. Whew, that paella dinner. They definitely didn't resolve anything there.
No, not really. Lots of tension still simmering between Tommy and Angela.
You know, you could almost say that paella was a metaphor.
Oh.
How so?
It's like the paella itself represents their communication problems. All those ingredients, all mixed up, not quite coming together the way they should. But hey, while they're figuring that out, Cooper's out there putting in the work.
Yeah, he's not just chasing deals, he's actually building relationships, which makes him different from a lot of the other landmen we've seen.
Totally, like with Mr. Hardin.
Yeah.
That was a really refreshing approach.
I was impressed by how patient Cooper was.
He didn't try to pressure Mr. Hardin or anything, just took his time and explained everything clearly.
So different from those high-pressure tactics we usually see in the oil industry.
It really shows that Cooper values integrity. He wants to help people like Mr. Hardin make informed choices about their mineral rights, which is super important given how valuable those rights can be.
Exactly. And that's a big part of why Cooper's deals are such a big deal. He's proving that you don't have to sacrifice your morals to be successful in this business.
And that's a powerful message. Okay, speaking of doing things differently, we've got to talk about Angela's big plan for the nursing home residents.
Oh yeah, that field trip.
Taking a group of senior citizens to a strip club is certainly a choice.
Classic Angela, though. Always pushing the boundaries.
It was pretty amazing how she managed to pull it all off, arranging the transportation, finding a willing performer, even dealing with that last-minute request for a male entertainer.
It was hilarious to watch her navigate all of that. I mean, the whole thing could have easily gone too far.
Right. But the writers handled it with a lot of sensitivity and humor. It felt like a celebration, you know?
Like a celebration of life.
Yeah.
And the idea that you're never too old to have a little fun.
Exactly. And to feel connected to others.
The show's really good at finding humor in unexpected places and making us rethink some of our assumptions about aging. Speaking of pushing boundaries, let's not forget about Ainsley.
And the quarterback, using Bible study as a cover for their little rendezvous.
The scene where her dad catches them is pure comedy gold.
It was so relatable, too. That clash between generations, the awkwardness of teenage romance.
Parents trying to protect their kids desperate for independence.
It's a dynamic that plays out in a lot of families, which brings us back to that theme of family dynamics that runs through this whole episode.
You've got Tommy and Angela trying to reconnect, Monty making those questionable decisions at the company, and Ainsley and her dad navigating that whole teen rebellion thing.
It's amazing how the show weaves together these different storylines.
Creates this whole tapestry of human relationships.
Full of humor, drama, and of course, a healthy dose of Texas grit.
So as we head into the final act of this episode, I'm really curious to see how it all wraps up.
Me too. We've got those high-stakes negotiations, Angela's unforgettable field trip, and it feels like we're heading for a showdown that could change the game in West Texas. Okay, we're in the home stretch of this Landman episode, and the stakes are getting pretty high.
Yeah, no kidding.
Cooper's big deals are hanging in the balance. Angela's about to launch that nursing home adventure, and we're all wondering if Tommy and Angela will ever get back on the same page.
So much going on.
I did notice one interesting thing about Tommy, though.
What's that?
He actually starts taking his health a little more seriously. Like, there's a scene where he chooses to eat fruit instead of his usual sugary cereal.
Oh, yeah. It's a small thing, but it seems like Jerry's words about legacy and purpose might be sinking in.
You think so?
Maybe. It's like he's starting to pay attention to his body, making conscious choices.
Could be the beginning of a bigger shift for him.
It's a good reminder that real change often starts with small steps.
Speaking of big things happening, Angela actually pulls off that nursing home field trip.
I can't believe she actually did it.
Those residents are in for a wild ride.
That strip club scene is comedy gold.
It is. You've got these senior citizens, some in wheelchairs, just taking it all in with this mix of awe and amusement.
The writers could have done way over the top with that scene, but they kept it sensitive and funny.
They did a great job with it.
It's a reminder that people of all ages crave connection and enjoyment.
And let's not forget about the volunteer, Angela, recruited for the male entertainment.
Oh my gosh, yes! That was a whole other layer of awkwardness.
But it also kind of highlighted the idea that people, no matter how old they are, still long for intimacy.
It's about more than just the physical stuff. It's about feeling seen and desired.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, while all that's happening, Cooper's still out there hustling, securing leases, building his future in the oil world.
All that hard work pays off too. He lands a huge deal.
A real game changer for him. It shows how his persistence and his genuine approach to dealing with people have really paid off.
He's proven that you don't have to be a ruthless jerk to make it in the oil industry.
Exactly. And now it feels like we're heading for a showdown between Cooper and the other landmen who are after those lucrative leases. The episode ends with this sense of possibility, you know?
Like anything could happen. All these characters at a crossroads facing new opportunities and challenges.
It makes you think about your own choices, you know?
Definitely. What are we willing to compromise on? How do we define success? And how do we find that balance between our ambitions and the things that really matter?
Wow, that's a lot to unpack.
This whole episode was a wild ride, that's for sure.
From the laughter to the tension to those genuinely heartfelt moments, it really explored the complexities of family, ambition, and the choices we make along the way.
Landman always gives us something to think about.
Well said. And that wraps up another deep dive. Thanks for joining us.